Please be advised that Little Miss Recap contains adult language.
Queen Elizabeth will speak publicly today about the death of Diana, Princess of Wales. Joining me from London is NPR's Michael Goldfarb to talk about the extraordinary move by the Queen to speak to her subjects. Any idea what she will say today?
It will be a very carefully crafted speech because people will listen to it with great interest.
Since last Sunday's dreadful news, we have seen throughout Britain and around the world an overwhelming expression of sadness at Diana's death. So what I say to you now, as your queen and as a grandmother, I say from my heart. First, I want to pay tribute to Diana myself. She was an exceptional and gifted human being. In good times and bad, she never lost her capacity to smile and laugh, nor to inspire others with her warmth and kindness. I admired and respected her for her energy and commitment to others. I hope that tomorrow we can all, wherever we are, join in expressing our grief at Diana's loss and gratitude for her all too short life.
Hi everyone, welcome to Little Miss Recap, the podcast where we love getting up at the crack of dawn talking about the royals.
We do, and
We do. It's what we do.
I mean, to view most royal events as Americans, we have to get up at the crack of dawn, so it makes sense.
Okay,
talk
well, I
about
don't do that, but you do,
I do that. I'm a nut job.
because you're invested.
I am. We all have our things, and apparently mine is watching the royals casually, very casually.
My name's Amy Archer, guys. I'm the host of Little Miss Recap, and I'm here with my co-host, the butter to my bread. I will not call you cheese again, because I don't want to get into the cheese rules. Amanda Lipnack-Gradell. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning, Amy. Good morning, friends. I knew you were going to say the butter to my, and I thought it was going to be biscuit, but I'll take bread.
Ooh, I am shaped like a biscuit.
You're a little biscuity.
I am a little
You're
biscuity.
a little nugget over there.
I'm like a little undone biscuit.
You're like the dumplings. We just pop right into the chicken and dumplings. And we're just
100%.
waiting to do its thing. You're a little
100%.
dumpling. Yes.
So we're here to round out our first part of
Mhm.
the coverage of the final season of The Crown.
Correct.
And today we're gonna do episode 4, and I'm sad that this is ending right now.
I am too. But we know, like, in 2 weeks we get more.
I know.
Actually, a week and a
I-
half we get more.
We're doing the schedule, and Amanda and I are like, "Wow, we're gonna have all this free time," and then we're like, "Oh wait, the Crown
Right.
comes
We
back."
get the second half of the Crown. Never mind.
Yeah.
Mind.
But
It's all good.
I love covering it.
I do too.
Mhm.
Too. I was on Blady Day yesterday with both Robin and Michelle. I felt very special.
fun.
I was the third sister, I was the third wife in their marriage that day. It was
Mhm.
pretty exciting. She
Mhm.
says I am the one that she's nice to. Everyone else she's mean to, but I'm her
Oh,
sister wife,
okay.
so she's nice to me. Anyway,
So you're the Robin to her Mary.
I am the Robin to her Mary.
Okay.
We were talking about The Crown, and it's getting, well, we know that it's not getting great reviews overall, but it's really apparently a volatile conversation in England.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have yet to dive into it, and they were asking my thoughts on it, and I said we're enjoying it. Yes, it's not perfect, but Robin and I were talking about the thing that you and I have talked about, which is the problem is it's too close to, we know it too well
Yeah.
to be divorced from it,
And we all have opinions about it.
and we all have
because,
opinions about it. Yeah.
I was listening to this new podcast I found I sent to you called The Crown Factor Fiction, which is really
Yes.
interesting. And they have like a few royals experts
Okay.
weigh in on, what's true, what's false. And I listened to, there's only 3 episodes out, so this one was not out. So I listened to it, and one of the people, I think it's in episode 1, he was talking about like he said in Britain, people know that The Crown is, they take it with the grain of salt, the
Sure.
show. They're like, it's mostly not true, da da da. But he said the problem is globally, people think this is Bible.
Right. Yeah.
And that's true. That's true.
Yeah. I think I've had a healthy sense of the fact that a great deal of this is fictionalized because we don't know what the private conversations ever
Right,
are.
but how many, like, people, like, the average viewer
Yeah.
are gonna think like that?
Oh, yeah. No, no, no,
Right,
of course not.
right.
Of course not. It's the same way
So
that, like, you and I will talk for hours about Sister Wives, and people will be like, "Who's Leon? What happened to Mary's kid? We haven't seen them in a long time." Like,
I
I'm
know,
like,
I know.
how do you not know every detail of this family? But most people aren't as obsessed as we are,
That's
which is probably
true,
a good
that's very
thing.
true.
Probably
Yeah,
a good
yeah.
thing for them and for us.
It is, it is. We're gonna jump right in today because we got a lot to get to. We have
We
to do
do.
some other stuff later.
We do, we do. But I did want to. I texted you last night that I wanted to share a story, but I think it relates to this episode. So
Yes.
yesterday I went to a burlesque workshop. Did not flash my tits at all, which is
Okay,
good or bad.
okay.
And it's with this burlesque teacher and performer named Pearl Noir, and she's just one of those people that, like, she walks in the room and you just feel like this woman is a powerhouse. Like, you can
I
just
love that.
tell.
Mhm.
She's amazing. And she has this whole program called Healing Through Seduction, which is a really interesting way of, like, accessing your inner child and the seductive parts of you, because they're actually the same, because it's the parts at which you were free in your life.
Mm.
And it's really interesting. So that was the thing I did in
It's
Brooklyn.
interesting too because it could be reframing sexual trauma
Of course.
as a
Mhm.
healing tool. That's
Mhm.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. So the class was a reverse striptease, whether we
Mm.
were doing it for real or not. It's very interesting. But you do the ritual a couple of times, and then she had half the group sit and watch, and the other half and just all this. And I was thinking about the difference between, and people talking about their experience of knowing that people were watching versus knowing that people were not watching.
Mhm.
And it made me think of the difference between being watched and being witnessed.
Hmm. Okay.
Watch feels very passive, but being witnessed feels like you're involving,
Yeah,
you're
it's
connecting
active.
to it.
Mhm.
It's an active
Mhm.
thing. And I was thinking, how much of Diana's life was she watched versus witnessed? I think so few people, like, actually saw her.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that from what I have read, her boyfriend before Dodie, I forget his name, the surgeon, the
Mhm.
doctor that she was involved with,
Whoever played him was a hottie McHot hot.
I believe that she said he was like the truest love of her life at some point, she had said.
Mm,
And I'm just wondering if, because we know Charles didn't see her,
no,
right? We
not at
know
all.
that. And we know Dodie didn't see her.
No, no.
I wonder if that guy did. I
I
wonder,
wonder.
if I hope so, because
I
I
hope so.
hope that she experienced that once in her life.
I do too. I do too.
Because it sounds like her father didn't see her.
Mm-mm. And she was trying real hard. And her
Mhm.
husband didn't see her, and the world didn't really see her. They saw what they wanted to see.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good
Uh,
point.
yeah, I just
That's a
thought,
good
I was
point.
thinking about that last night. I was like, the difference
Mhm.
between being watched and being witnessed.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
interesting. So, anyway, we are season 6, episode 4, The Aftermath. Not the
Okay.
aftermath like Leah Remini and Scientology, the aftermath.
Mm.
The aftermath of the death of Princess
Yes.
Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed. So we open with a lot of phone calls. Like, this news is just spreading all over the place. First,
Yeah.
it's dark in Balmoral, and I'm guessing, like, whoever the night manager is of Balmoral just answers the phone, and we see that. We see Moo Moo answer the phone from a dead sleep. He's
Mhm.
clearly upset. We see a lot of Moo Moo in this.
Yeah, we do.
Another man answers the phone. He's clearly upset, and lights start coming on at Balmoral. So people are clearly waking up.
Mhm.
Philip and Elizabeth meet with this night manager dude, and he tells them about the accident. He had gotten a call from the embassy in Paris, and that Dodi had died instantly, and the princess was in critical condition. Things were not looking good.
Mhm.
Charles comes rushing in because he too got a call from his press secretary, and it's all over the news, which we know it's all over the news. Now, I'm going to take this moment. Where were you when you found out? Because this is how all these people are finding out.
Yeah, okay. So, I don't remember the exact moment, if that
Mm.
makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember the day.
Mm-hmm.
So, I remember that I was at my first husband's house and he had just this is a random fact. He had just gotten a fish tank and we were setting it up.
Okay,
And I remember
cool.
that. I remember, his mother coming in and telling us that Princess Diana died. but I
Okay.
don't like, it wasn't early, so I don't think I got it when it was breaking news,
Well, it happened at she died at 4:04 AM Paris time.
which would have been what?
I don't know if it's 5 or I think it's 6 hours because London's 5 hours. So
Okay, so
that
it
would
would
have
have been
been
at night.
yeah, it was
Okay,
it-
so maybe yeah, so maybe I did hear it when it right when it happened.
so and I got 4:04 from the clock in the hospital that they seem to
Yeah.
put the camera stopped there for a reason.
Mhm.
And I remember I had just moved into my second apartment with my friend Julie, and we had been out. I don't remember where we were. We were out
Mhm.
somewhere. And we came home, and I'm pretty sure my friend Eric was also there. And we were watching Saturday Night Live.
Mm,
Or we came in to turn on Saturday Night Live, and it
yeah.
said, Princess Diana was in this accident. And we were like,
So they
"What?"
broke into Saturday Night Live?
Mhm.
Okay.
And then or maybe it was just like a chyron on the bottom,
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm
Saturday Night
wondering
Live
if
was
it was a
going.
chyron.
And then that when she actually died, they broke in, and it
Mhm.
was like, the Tom Brokaw-esque, like, the national
Mm.
news anchor, whoever that was.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the scene of, if you ever seen the movie Broadcast News?
I don't think I have.
Oh, Amy, you would love it. It's such a good movie. It's such a
Yeah.
good wordy movie.
Ooh, I would like
You would
that.
love it, and it's about the
Mhm.
integrity of journalism and all of
Mm.
this, but there's a scene where there's, like, this major thing that happens, some bombing or something, and William Hurt winds up having to be the anchor, and he's not really ready to do it. It's just
Mhm.
interesting of how people just get dropped into these like major world events, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm
Well,
telling the story of this thing.
that's like Howard Cosell. I think it was Howard Cosell broke John Lennon's death on Monday
Oh,
Night
did he?
Football.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it happened during Monday Night Football, and he broke it, and it's like most people wouldn't think he was,
No, I wouldn't think of
but
Howard
yeah.
Cosell with the death of John Lennon, but I mean,
Yeah.
it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Mhm.
If it's
Mhm.
particularly if it's Monday night, most people are watching Monday Night Football,
Yeah.
particularly
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. Yeah.
There weren't 17 other choices. It
No.
was
Mm-mm.
two other choices. So anyway,
How about here's what a dork I am, right? I'm
yeah.
like, we're watching Timmy and I are watching something. Al Michaels was on. Oh, I know what it was. I was getting my tattoo with my sister, and the
Mm,
guy had the game on.
okay.
And Al Michaels was on. I'm like, God, Al Michaels is old, isn't he? He's like gotta be 100 right now. And he's like, he's calling this game, right?
Right.
And I'm like, well, I know that he was in the booth the night of Monday Night Football when John Lennon died. And my sister's like, how do you know that? Like, I know so many random facts about John Lennon, you have no idea. No idea. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, I'm listening to you and Steph on Married First Sight now that I'm all caught up and
Mhm.
understand that, you were angry at the girls for not talking to you about 1968.
Yes,
Between
yes.
John Lennon and 1968, like, come on, get with it. Okay, anyway, so we're back at this. Um, Charles comes rushing in that he got this call from the press secretary.
And
Moo
he's
Moo,
looking real good.
he's looking real good. He's looking really good. I'm not comfortable with the level with which I'm attracted to Prince
I know, I'm
Charles.
like, "What are these warm feelings below my pajama pants?"
Is your basement flooding, my friend, as they say? So, Mumu rushes into a helicopter, is met by a bodyguard, one of the bodyguards that we saw before. And first, he wants to go to where the accident happened before going to the morgue. And the scene is just crawling with people. He stands and he just starts praying in Arabic.
Yeah.
Now we're at the morgue, and Mumu goes in to identify Dodie's body by himself. Oh, no, he doesn't. No, it's Charles who goes into Diana's body by herself. He goes in, and we talked about wondering how he reacted to this, and I don't have a
Charles or Mumu?
Mumu.
Yeah,
We don't have a good sense of how accurate this was, but
right.
the guy playing him was he was stunning. Just the
He was
look on his
great.
face and the grief, and as he pulls back the sheet and he's just holding Dodie's head and just
Yep,
kissing him all
yep.
over and sobbing and yelling in Arabic, and it's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking.
It's absolutely heartbreaking.
I listened to an interview God, I listened to a lot of ancillary materials.
Ancillary.
Ancillary.
It's like the one word you cannot pronounce.
It's not the one word, Amanda. It's one of 11. I was listening to an interview with the guy who played Dodie, and he was saying that it might have been on the Crown Official podcast.
Okay.
and he was saying how grateful he was that Peter Morgan worked so much Arabic into the script.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
they
there's a
they
lot of
frequently
Arabic.
go in and out of it, you know what I mean? And I just thought that this was an interesting time to use it and the right time to use it.
Yeah, absolutely,
Mhm.
and I'm glad that they used it in we'll get to it, but when Ghost Dodie shows up, I'm glad that they spoke in air. I'm
Yes.
glad that they spoke in I'm glad that it seems like Peter Morgan has them speak in
Who?
the
Who?
language. Peter Morgan
Okay.
speaks in the language that the people would have spoken in.
Yes,
Not the
agreed.
stupid stuff that 90 Day does where it's like 2 Brazilians are speaking English,
Agreed. Thank
which
you,
is just so
yes.
awkward.
Mhm.
So, now we're, outside of an OR. It's 4:04 AM. Doctors come out and with lots of staff just sitting around, and there's no dialogue. And I noticed they use this for the whole time. Anytime someone is telling them that somebody died, we don't hear it, which I think is a
Mhm.
really interesting way of doing it. I think it's actually very respectful
I do too. I do
because we
too.
have no idea what any of these people would have said. So
Mm-mm.
let's just let it be. We
Yeah.
all know what it is. We don't have to do it.
And you see the doctor is just, like, crushed.
Yeah. He's crushed. The
Which
nurses around start crying.
reminds me of the medical team that worked on JFK.
Okay.
If you ever see the doctor who worked on him come out and talk to he's you could see the look
Yeah.
of devastation.
He did
Devastation.
everything he could. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
there was no chance for
No.
JFK.
No.
I mean,
No, no, no. But they tried. They
they
fucking
try.
tried.
I
Yeah.
know, but half his brain got blown out so
John
bad.
Lennon too, but I won't go
Let's
there.
not go there. Let's not go there. We don't need you to
Okay.
start crying. We don't need that right now. It's too early in the morning for that. So anyway,
Just
but
love a bunch of dead guys named John.
yeah, there's a theme going on there. But like the nurses and the orderlies, everyone standing around just starts crying.
Devastated.
Back at Balmoral, the embassy calls and Paris calls and tells them, Philip, Elizabeth, and Charles, that Diana has died. And we hear the news reports in the background. Someone comes in to see Charles, Philip, and Diana, and excuse me, not Diana, Charles, Philip, and Elizabeth, to tell them that Diana died. All done in silence. And Charles begins to cry, and you could see that the Queen is obviously shaken.
Yes. Yeah.
Philip don't give a fuck.
And I read that that was true, that Charles let out, like somebody said, an ungodly, like, yelp and
Mm-hmm.
wail and started
Mm-hmm.
crying.
Yeah,
Mm.
and
Philip
Philip don't
doesn't give a fuck. Philip's
fuck.
like, "Where's my breakfast?"
Right, exactly. Can we just get on with this? Like,
Mhm,
why are we even
mhm,
bothering talking about this?
mhm.
She's not one of us anymore.
No.
He is, as awful as we know Philip is, he's so gross in this.
And I feel like that was a turn. Like, I feel like in the beginning seasons,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't so awful. He's
Mm-mm.
really awful now. It's
He's
really
gotten
clear.
really bad over time.
Mhm, mhm.
And I
He did
wonder,
something to piss off Peter Morgan.
yeah, he did not get the
Mhm.
fair fine edit that Charles did.
No.
No,
Mm-mm,
no, no.
mm-mm.
And so, but we begin with a news report announcing that Diana has died. We see Charles walking outdoors. He's clearly grief stricken. He's walking across a lake, like he falls to his knees, crying at the side of the lake. Meanwhile, we also hear him in a voiceover talking to Camilla
Yeah.
to tell her what's happened, and he's so upset at the lakeside. He's going back and forth. Camilla asks when he will tell the boys, and he says he wants to delay it as long as possible because while they sleep, they still have a mother, which is
I felt
just,
that. I felt that.
I know,
I will
to know that
never
when they wake up, he's going to destroy their lives.
I will never forget waking up the day after my gram died and Timmy's mom called me and like it woke me up.
Hmm.
And I remember saying to her, she was like, "How are you?" And I remember saying, like, "Was that a dream? Like,
Like,
did
yeah,
that just really happen?" I can't even imagine the pain these boys felt and
I can't
wanting to
either.
put it off as long as possible. These poor babies.
I know, and just let them remain
Devastating.
innocent
Mhm.
because once they
Mhm.
know this, they're not in it. Their lives are never innocent again.
Mm-mm.
And I mean, they were 12 and 15, but still, they're just babies.
Oh
And
yeah.
Charles,
100%.
it seems the way that Peter Morgan is telling this story is that Charles got it all along how big this was going to be.
Yeah.
Um, and he says to Camilla, "This is going to be enormous. People have no idea. This is going to be the biggest thing we've ever seen." And he wasn't wrong.
No. Mm-mm. I
Certainly
mean,
in
he
the modern
always
era.
and he was firsthand witnessed. I mean, let's not forget how the paparazzi were with her when she came into the family.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he has seen this all along, and, he's like, "This is gonna be bad."
He never got this level of attention before her
No.
or since her, really, in a
No.
lot of ways.
No.
Um, and so we see Charles knocks on William's door. He's asleep. And Charles sits on the edge of his bed and just kind of reaches over and just gently pats
William's
him
like,
to wake him
"What,
up.
Dad?
I know.
God, what do you
God.
want?"
Dude, it's like it's Saturday. Why or Sunday morning? Why can't I just sleep? Teenager.
Ugh.
And he wakes him up with morning, darling. And I wonder if that's how he refers to his children. I don't know. That doesn't feel real to me, but who knows?
Yeah.
And Charles says, I'm afraid you're going to have to be very brave. And then we don't hear him telling William, and we cut to Harry being told, and William just standing there looking like he has no idea what the fuck is going on.
Oh, poor William.
I know. Elizabeth is told that the boys have woken and have been told. Charles requested that one of the Queen's planes go to pick up Diana. Elizabeth asks why, and Charles says this is in accordance with the plans if a royal dies abroad. And Philip is like, nope, she's not a royal.
Not a royal.
Fuck her. No
I
longer a
want to
royal.
stab him with a little olive fork.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh.
Over and over.
Little time. And Philip is quick to point out she's no longer a royal. Philip thinks it needs to appear they are doing it by the book.
Oh,
And Charles asks if they would prefer if the future King of England's mother is brought back to London in a Harrods van.
that was an amazing line.
It was.
Of course, it probably was not true.
No.
But it was an amazing line.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both like, okay.
Oh, yeah. Now we're sort of getting this now.
Yes,
This is a little bigger than just this bitch died. This is the mother of the future King of England. And Elizabeth just kind of like nods and is like, yeah, okay, fine. You can have the plane. And they also show Elizabeth a short statement from her and Philip to do. And they're kind of like, why do we even have to do this? Like,
yeah. They're like, this bitch is dead to us.
Yeah, she's dead to us and now she's dead. Great.
It's crazy.
I'm just going to worry about my grandkids now, which in some ways is not the wrong inclination. If Diana were not this famous person and she were not the queen, of course a grandmother should be like, oh my God, I need to tend to my
But she's not like holding Harry on her lap and letting him sob into her breast. Let's be real.
No, she's not.
Tending to the grandchildren is like making sure they're still in the room.
Exactly. Or not, depending on what they want.
Right.
And they ask if they're going to go to church, and Philip insists that the whole family needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
But the chaplain will be asked not to mention the accident. They must keep things as normal as possible, which I think is the wrong move.
Me too.
Particularly those boys are just sitting there in that service with tears running down their face.
And knowing what we know today about trauma, this is the exact wrong move. To pretend like nothing happened.
It's fine. Everything's fine. I was listening to the episode you dropped yesterday with Harry talking about it and how disconnected he felt from it.
Yeah.
Through all of it.
And now we do know, like, through the ACEs study and like so much work on childhood trauma, like Harry's probably still that 12-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm.
He's never grown past that unless he's done extensive work on himself. And I think he might be doing that now. Yeah. I don't know if he did, when he was like partying and all that shit. Like that was just that 12-year-old boy who lost his mother. Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it is really interesting to think of that, and that, he didn't, of course, get the help that he needed.
No, of course not. And William didn't either.
No.
No.
Which is why one of the many reasons it breaks my heart that the two of them are estranged.
I know.
At this point, it's sad. So anyway, we see Moo and he's holding a watch, and someone tells him that there are things of Diana's at Dodie's apartment, including gifts for her boys.
Mm-hmm.
Moo says that Dodie and Diane were a love for the ages, Amy.
Oh, God. Okay.
A love for the ages.
Okay.
They were engaged to be married. Dodie proposed the night before. He tells his assistants to return her belongings, and he will write a note to the royal family and the Spencer family. This will bring everyone together.
Yeah, he's like, now's my ticket.
This is it. This is the best I'm ever going to do at this point. he is now their brother in sorrow. They don't give a fuck about him
They don't give a
at
fuck
all.
about you, dude.
They don't even
Mm-mm.
consider him or Dodie.
No, and do not be fooled. Race is a big part of that.
Oh,
Mhm.
100%.
Mhm.
And I just put him in my notes. Fun fact, they don't give a fuck about him.
It's really sad. It's
It
really
is
like
really sad.
for as terrible as they're making Moo out to be, and he
Yes.
wasn't a great dude.
No, not at all.
No person deserves to lose their child and go through that in isolation, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Particularly such a public thing and be totally isolated on his own.
Yep. Yep.
We see the church service. It's quiet. Pretty much we're singing a hymn. Everyone's in black. Harry just cries. Like just this little boy with these tears going down his face. I'm like, I can't handle this. Charles kisses and comforts the boys. And then we see him on the plane to go get Diana's body.
Which we know he wasn't kissing and comforting those boys.
No, he wasn't. But Dominic West was, and he looked really good while he was doing it.
Can kiss and comfort me.
He can comfort me anytime he wants. I'll sit there and fake cry in front of him. It's fine. I can make it happen. I'll go into my own childhood trauma. I'll bring something up. I'll start crying, and then Dominic West can comfort me.
I'm sure I could find something in there.
Exactly. There's something in there that could get me to cry. I do want to say I am very glad that he went and got her. I think that was the right thing to do.
Yes.
Both from a parent perspective and from a royal family perspective. This was the right thing.
By all accounts, this gaggle of royals experts that I've been listening to, by all accounts, they were on much better terms. They were building a friendship.
That's
that
good.
was good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, which probably made it even harder. I don't know. Sometimes I'm not I mean, it's never good to lose somebody that you had deep feelings for, but like, is it easier to lose them when you're estranged or easier to lose them when you're reconciling? I don't know.
Hey everyone, stay tuned. Little Miss Recap will be right back after these words.
So, and I'm like, he lands in Paris, and of course, so much fucking paparazzi. Of course, everywhere we go. He's escorted into the hospital, into the morgue, and everyone's just kind of, bowing their heads as he walks by. He's left alone with her, and he sobs, and the people outside can hear it, and he is wailing. And they're all moved by him. And we see the doctor who also operated on Diana, and he's looking like he feels real bad.
Hold on.
Yes.
I want to just take 1 minute to think of how, like, how you get imposter syndrome?
Yes.
What that doctor must have felt with the imposter syndrome. Like, here I am having to save the Princess of Wales. Like, here I am having to save the most important person in the world right now, in the country right now.
And I failed. She dead now.
Wow. Like, I'm just trying to think, like, I'm disappointed when I can't sell a book.
I know. And that's not life or death for anybody.
Right. What does this look like?
Oh, God.
Anyway.
She dead now. It's actually funny, but not funny. When my stepson was 5, his parents, Todd and his ex-wife, took him to see Les Mis. And I guess it was when
you told me this.
He said it, and he just screamed, "She dead now!" About 14, like in the middle of this major theater.
Maybe we needed him to stand to the side of this and yell it when the surgeon came
Right,
out.
exactly. We just needed,
she dead now.
She dead now. So anytime someone dies in our house, she dead now.
And again, we're not laughing at Diana passing.
No, not at all.
We're laughing at, like, imagine just being that surgeon. You show up to Christmas dinner and
they're
like, how was your year? And he's like, oh, I fucked up real bad. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Christmas dinner, how was your year? Well, let's put it this way. I've had some better surgeries in my day.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Poor girl.
I know. So anyway, her body is, put into the hearse. And there's a motorcade. And as she's going through the streets of Paris, people are standing, they're clapping, they're throwing flowers.
Now, how'd you feel about the decision that they didn't show her body, but they showed Dodie's?
I didn't even think about that. That's an interesting, I didn't even think about that. I wonder, and I don't know if you know this, were there injuries such that they could have shown Dodie's face without it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Not sure.
So her body's being moved. People are, paying respects. She's covered in the Royal Standard flag. So I looked this up. I wasn't sure what flag was on her
Mhm.
caskets. The Royal Standard flag, and it represents the sovereign and the United Kingdom. The Royal Standard flag is flown when the king, or then the queen, is in residence in one of the royal palaces, on the king's car, queen's car, on official journeys, and on aircraft when on the ground.
Okay.
So it's interesting that or Charles chose to use the official flag, even though I'm sure Philip was like, she doesn't get the official flag.
Well, and I think Charles reframing this is the mother of the future king really was
Mhm.
helpful for that.
I think so too. Philip still was a dick about the whole thing. Charles flies back to London, and he truly seems despondent. And he says, Paris, one of the busiest cities in the world, and you brought it to a standstill. And now we have Ghost Diana.
Okay. So,
Okay. How do you feel about Ghost Diana?
I mean, okay. So I thought long and hard about this as
Okay.
a writer, okay?
Okay.
Clearly, we needed some way for to hear Charles' inner thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
This is a device that's going to get you there.
It sure is.
I thought there's a way that you could do it. Having Ghost Diana flirt with him, probably not the best move.
No, no, no.
But I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people are. Like,
Same.
a lot of people are calling it cheesy and cringy, and I didn't feel like it was her ghost. Obviously, it was his imagination.
It was his inner monologue or
Yes.
dialogue with
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
The other way I think they could have done it, but they couldn't have done it 3 times this way,
Mhm.
would have been to have him like writing in a journal or
Mhm.
writing a letter to his boys or some sort of writing and
Yeah.
just a voiceover of what he's writing.
Right,
Uh,
because and or they could have had him talking to Camilla about it, but I don't know if he would have been as vulnerable
yeah,
in that moment with Camilla.
I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. But here we are. We've got Ghost Diana, so we're just going to do what we got to do.
Mhm.
We're going to talk about what Ghost Diana does. So
Mhm.
she's like, ta da. Charles says, you were always the most beloved of all of us. And she thanks him and for how he was in the hospital, raw,
Mhm.
broken, and handsome. She says she'll take that with her.
See, that
That
bothers me.
it
That
does
part
too.
bothers me
Me too.
because
I
it's
think
like,
if she had said thank you for the kindness in the hospital, I'll remember. Like I'll remember your grief. Like I'll
see,
feel
I
that
don't
as an
even know if
attachment
she
between
should have
us.
said that because
Yeah, but
that
not the handsome
implies the
part.
ghost is a sentient being now
That's true.
and has witnessed behavior that did not happen in the real realm.
That's fair. That's fair.
You know what I
No,
mean? Like,
that is fair. Yeah.
maybe she could have said something like, if I was writing it, I would have been like, I know it didn't turn out well between us, but thank you for giving me my boys, or
It's
something
something.
like that, or
Okay.
thank you for how kind you've been in the past few months, or
Right.
I don't like the referencing of things.
In a moment after she's dead.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. I
yeah.
get that. I get that.
Hmm.
And Diana says, you know, I loved you so much, as a tear runs down her face, so deeply,
Did you, girl?
so
Did you?
painfully too. And that's over now. I think she loved him in a very naive 19-year-old girl kind of way.
Yeah, I don't think he
I mean,
was the
they
love of
weren't the
her
love
life.
for they weren't the love for the ages that she and Dodie clearly were.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
No, no, no. And she says, it'll be easier for everyone with me gone. And
Hmm.
Charles says, no, it won't. She says, it will. Admit it. You've had that thought already.
See,
Which
this
that I think
part
is
I get. Yes.
that's the like,
Yes.
that's him going, oh my God, how many times did I think if she
Mhm.
could just die or disappear, that would make everything so
Yeah.
much easier.
Yeah.
But oh shit, no, it really doesn't. And now I feel really guilty about it.
It does make it easier in the fact that Camilla never would have been accepted, I think.
No, I think if Diana were still alive, this could
Yeah.
never have worked.
I think Camilla has, and to Camilla's credit, I think she played it well. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And was respectful, but yeah.
Yeah. And he
We'll
says
we'll see though. Next episode could prove me wrong. But go on.
yeah, we'll see what happens. He says the only thought he's had since he heard of her death was regret.
Mhm.
And she tells him that will pass. And he says, no, it will not. And they stare at each other and both cry. Okay. We see the plane land. Her casket is moved by royal guard to the hearse. And there's paparazzi everywhere again. So many people waiting for them at the airport.
Mhm.
Charles comes back to Balmoral, and William watches him get out of the car while listening to his Walkman. He's attached to this Walkman, which makes
Yes,
me
he
very
is.
happy.
Yes, he is.
And then we're in a room, a sitting room of some sort. I'm sure that's like their casual living room, and it's all like the most formal shit we've all ever seen. But I'm sure they're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
this is where we're lounging."
Mhm.
We see Anne and
100%.
Margaret. We see Anne and Margaret. Charles walks in. William is listening to "Paranoid Android" by Radiohead.
William's got some good taste in music.
William does have good taste in
Mhm.
music,
Mhm.
and Charles greets them as "darling boy." It just doesn't feel right.
I have
But
a
who
question for
knows?
you. When you were growing up, was
Mhm.
this a thing, maybe in your house or other houses, where there was a formal living room and a formal dining room?
There until when I was a little kid, yes. We
Mhm.
lived in a big old farmhouse. It was like constantly falling down. That house was a mess, but it had
Mhm.
like a formal living room, and that had like the fireplace and stuff. And then there was like a family room that was next to the kitchen, and that's where the TV was and things like that. Yeah. How
Yeah.
about you?
Because I remember I grew up in a neighborhood, and I think two of the houses, they were just bi-levels, like nothing crazy, but they each had this formal living room, which was
Mm-hmm.
real weird. I remember thinking like, you never go in there. What are you doing in there?
Yeah. And thinking
That
about
was
like
a thing though.
it was thinking about like my friends' houses, like in high school. A lot of them had like a living room and then like a TV room slash family room,
Yes.
rec room,
Yeah.
usually in the basement, but
Yeah.
not necessarily depending on the layout of the
Mhm.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were people doing in those formal living rooms?
I don't know. Entertaining people in the drawing room. I mean,
I
we,
remember one family in particular, that's where they would put their train set for Christmas and their tree.
oh,
So they
sure.
had a whole room just for a tree once a
Hey, why
year.
not? By the
Okay.
way, your tree looks very pretty.
Thank you.
Welcome. I need to, once the house is clean, I'll take pictures of our tree and stuff. It's
Okay.
pretty. Anyway, so Charles asks where Granny is, and William
Mhm.
says she's on the phone with the Spencers. Charles finds Elizabeth and Philip, and she asks how it was, and he says extraordinary. And Elizabeth says they turned off the TV and the radio, and Charles thinks that it's important to pay attention to the mood out there.
Mhm.
Elizabeth is like, we'll just shut this off for a couple days. We'll mourn. People will get it out of their system. La la la. No big
Yeah.
deal. We'll just deal with our
I
family.
mean, to be fair, Elizabeth has seen a lot of fucking loss.
That's
And
true.
that probably is how most of it was handled.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Probably the only one that really felt big to her would have been when her father died, but that's because he was the King of England.
Right.
Like,
Right.
not just her father, but the King of England. Thus, she became the Queen of England.
Right.
So Elizabeth thinks worrying about the family is much more important. And Charles says she was part of the family. And Philip's like, not anymore. You divorced her, not us. You wanted this badly, and now this is a Spencer family matter, and they have to obey their wishes.
Mm.
I'm of two minds. In part, I do think that the Spencer family's wishes should have been
What did they
taken
want? They
more.
wanted a
They
private.
wanted a small private funeral.
Yeah.
The problem is the country would never have put up with that.
Mm-mm.
Um,
And the country would have believed that the crown was behind that.
yeah, they would never have
Right.
believed that this
Even
is
if
what the Spencers
Elizabeth
wanted.
was like, the Spencer family has asked for a small funeral. They still would have
Very
been
good, Elizabeth, Amy. That's
thank you.
amazing.
They
It's like
still
she was right here.
they
You
still would have
channeled
been
her.
like, that son of a bitch. They gave them a private funeral. They would have blamed the queen regardless.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
She would have been screwed. Um, and so they wanted a small family service. Charles and the Prime Minister, handsome Tony Blair, believe it should be a proper public funeral. Elizabeth says that would mean leaving Scotland and joining a spectacle.
Mm, okay.
Philip says that would mean the boys walking behind the casket, and Charles says grieving their mother as the public will want them to do. I hate how they're used as pawns in this, and I
Yeah.
get why, but I hate it for them so much.
Yeah.
And Charles talks about the connection that Diana had, and just because they as a family don't understand it doesn't mean they should deny it. They may never have
Agreed.
gotten why people love her, but they did. So we got
Agreed.
to live in the reality.
Charles is saying all the right things here.
He is.
Yeah,
Yes.
which is
I
a
wonder.
sentence I never thought I'd say.
Which makes me wonder if this is really what happened. But
Right.
he said people are taking to the streets around the world.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, I remember all the scenes of they would show British embassies all over the world, and there were feet depth of flowers at British
Yes.
embassies everywhere. It
Yeah,
was
and in that little clip,
nuts.
Harry talks about being
Hmm.
like the mediator between the public and his mother. Like it
Yeah.
was he was taking the flowers and putting them down
He's
and
like, I was
taking the
like this
flowers.
weird middleman for their
Yeah.
grief.
Yeah, thank you.
And
That's a better way to put it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I liked how he did say I was a weird middleman for his
Mhm.
grief. For a
Yeah.
split second, I was like, who was interviewing him? I'm like, oh no,
You
it's Honey
you
Anderson
know
Cooper.
that honey dripping voice.
Oh
We all
God,
know
he's
it.
so beautiful. Oh, I love him. I am sad though that he and Andy Cohen don't drink anymore on New Year's Eve on CNN
That
because
used to get pretty wild.
watching drunk Anderson Cooper is a delight because I
Yeah.
don't think he ties one on very often, so he
No.
gets real silly. He's very
It was
cute.
really great. It was really great.
The problem is the last one. I think Andy got real coked out. That was the problem.
Take it down, notch, Andy.
Yeah, Andy, calm down. So anyway, Charles talks about this connection. So people are taking to the streets. She says her priority should be as a grandmother to the boys, and she won't be lectured. As Philip says, particularly by the person who caused us the most pain, or caused her the most pain, meaning Charles about Diana. Like,
What a dick thing to say.
what a dick
Holy
thing to say.
shit.
Jesus. Charles says he let her down in life, but he will not let her down in death. They can't have it both ways, public and private, when they want. He says it's time that William learns that. He's a shy boy, but he's a future king, and as such, he has to behave like one when his mother dies and the country grieves. And you see William outside the room hearing all of this, and you can tell he's like, fucking A.
He's like, God, I just want to eat my
guys.
Tostino's pizza rolls.
my Tostino's pizza rolls. God. Imagine like all the things that our kids say, but like in a hoity
In a
British accent.
fancy British accent. Mother, may I go to Duncan?
So now we take a break from Diana and we go to see Dodi. And we see Dodi's body and the funeral for him. And it's in a beautiful mosque. And this is what I did some deep dives into. So we'll talk more about it. And Mumu cries. And after the service, people are paying their respects, touching his coffin as it moves through the streets. And Mumu says nothing from the palace to like his assistant or whatever. No letters, no gifts. The poem that Mumu sent was returned with Diana's coffin. Like no note, like nothing.
That's pretty
They
shitty.
have not acknowledged him at all. And he asks if it is always the fate of the Arabs to be hated by the West.
That's
Unfortunately,
quite
with the
the
British
sentence.
Empire, it is.
Yeah.
Fortunately, dude. I mean,
I may be jumping ahead and tell me if I am, but did we get to the part yet where we see in Herod's window
not yet. But
okay.
it comes later.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we get Ghost Dodi.
Mm-hmm.
And they're speaking in Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, don't take it personally. And his father asks, how can he not? There's no mention of you anywhere. And Dodi says, across the Arab world, they are calling Dodi a hero. And he says he shouldn't look to the West. He says, of course, he has to. And Dodi tells him basically he'll never get what he wants from the West. He asks Dodi, did I have unfair expectations of you? He says, yes. So this feels like a better inner dialogue.
Yeah.
Than the Diana Charles one. Because I do feel like a parent would say, oh my God, was I a good
100%.
parent? Did I have unfair expectations of you? Did I, and particularly given his impact on all this, did I drive you to this? All of this. And he asks for forgiveness, and Dodi asks to be forgiven as well for failing his father. And Mumu says he was perfect. Dodi disagrees, and he says, be honest about who I was, because wounds only heal with the truth. And Mumu cries out for Dodi not to leave as he go back to the chair and he's gone. So now we have Tony Blair. He's meeting with the cabinet about how to handle the funeral. And it's on a conference call with the Queen. Tony Blair saying we need to do this at Westminster Abbey. Should the location and the audience the location and the audience should be made up of folks from the causes that she cared most about. And someone comes in to tell Charles that William is missing.
Mhm.
And so a search has begun all around Balmoral for him. People are looking all over. There's just Range Rovers all over Balmoral's property, going
Yep.
everywhere.
Yep.
Range Rover, Range Rover. And they can't find him. And Charles seems genuinely concerned. Like he's
Yeah.
starting to freak out that his kid is missing. A storm is rolling in because Scotland. So, of course, it is.
Yes.
And then we see William come walking back on his own. He was out there
Mhm.
for 14 hours.
Jesus. I wonder if that's true.
I wonder if that's true too. It
Yeah.
wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
The family's inside waiting for his return, and he eventually comes back from his walkabout, as I said. Harry he goes on walkabout. Harry lets him know that he's coming back. Everyone's relieved. Charles and Harry greet him. Charles asks if he's okay, and he just shrugs him off and says yes. And the Queen
God,
does the same.
Dad, get out of my way.
Right. Get off my grill, Dad.
Jeez.
My mom just died. Go away.
Go away.
God, it's awful. So we're in the Queen's bedroom with Philip. She says William had gone for 14 hours. He's never done anything like this before, which I want to say, well, his mother's never died before either. So
Yeah. This is bad.
and but Elizabeth says if he is behaving so out of character, perhaps Charles is right about the fact that the rest of the country is behaving out of character too.
Mhm.
I don't think they're behaving out of character at all. I think
Yeah.
they're being totally in alignment with their character. Charles has asked her to help the country too, and she should go back to London before the funeral and make a formal statement. And Philip tells her, "Don't you dare."
Yeah. Philip really, as this is a real flip for them because if you
Mhm.
remember, she always dictated how the crown would act and blah, 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 and was always telling him.
Mhm.
He seems to have internalized that message and now it's coming back to bite her in the ass.
Right.
Mhm.
And don't you dare. Sanity will soon prevail.
Mhm.
And she's like, grief hotlines are ringing off the hook. Like,
Mhm.
shit's going down. People are
Mhm.
not okay.
People are not okay.
And we start hearing news reports of how the Queen has been misjudging this and they need to return to London earlier. Like, the press is really turning on them. Charles tells Anne about the fact that the Queen is unable to mother the nation, just as she was unable to mother them.
Yep.
Anne
I
tells
was
them this
thinking
is
that because at some point he says, the country needs their mother. They need you
uh-huh.
to mother them. And I'm like, oh, they're
I know.
fucked.
Yeah, seriously. I don't think this woman has 3 maternal instincts in her whole body.
No. Mm-mm.
Anne says that isn't helpful now. Her inability to mother the nation might have consequences. There's a growing anti-royal movement in the media, and the public's growing frustration with the silence from Balmoral. The country is grieving, but there's nothing from Balmoral.
Mm-hmm.
Charles comes back to talk to the Queen. I feel like all Charles is doing this whole episode is like begging everybody to do the right thing.
Yes.
He's going
Which
from
is
pillar to
real
post.
generous to Charles. I just
Yes.
want to reiterate that.
And can we talk about how good Dominic West looks in a kilt? Can we
I
revisit that for a
mean,
moment? Oh, God.
one of our listeners, I forget who. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting your name. Reached out and was like, I'm totally rewatching The Affair. Like, it's happening. And then separately, independently of that, someone else reached out and was like, we hear you on The Affair. It almost destroyed my life. Like it really got
into people's heads. Oof. Oh God, it's so good. Again, friends, if you've never watched The Affair, go now.
Yeah.
Run, don't walk. Yeah. And Charles comes to talk to the Queen again and asks if she has reconsidered her position. She's seen the news. It would be very easy to dismiss this whole thing as mass hysteria. And Charles is sure there is something much deeper at work here.
Mm-hmm.
The Queen thinks that people are just in shock that a beautiful young woman was cut off in her prime. She said the crown rises above impulse, and he says at its peril.
Yeah.
And Charles is sure there's a chance that this could turn ugly for them. And he says the public wants attention, love, and empathy. She says theater, exhibition, and spectacle. He says that's who Diana was.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't see that as spectacle. She gave the people what they needed, and the people adored her for it.
Yes. It's called human.
It's called human. Yeah. And we hear another report. The media says that the Queen needs to come to terms with the country's grief. Mm-hmm. This is really going badly for them. And now we have our third and final viewing of Ghost Diana. And she's sitting next to the Queen. This one is the one I think I had the hardest time with. And the Queen says, I hope you're happy now. You finally succeeded in turning me and this house upside down. And Diana says that was never her intention, and the queen doesn't believe her. And she says, look at what you started. It's nothing less than revolution.
Look at all this nonsense.
Look at all this nonsense.
Yeah.
And Diana says it didn't need to be. And by making an enemy of me, not personally, but what I stood for, it's starting to look like one. And Diana says they are trying to show the queen who they are, how they feel, and what they need. And it must be terrifying, but it needn't be. The queen has shown the world what it is to be British. Maybe it is time for her to learn too.
I don't know if we needed this.
Yeah. This
I
is the one I
liked
have the
the one
most
with
problem with.
Charles. I liked Ghost Dodie probably the best. This one, I don't feel like we needed this. I
I
feel
think
like
I liked Ghost Dodie the best because I knew so little about Dodie that like it didn't feel as personal as Diana.
Can we reimagine this scene if this was Princess Margaret telling it to her?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Because
that could have
Margaret is one of the
worked.
few people who could
Yeah.
speak truth to her.
Yeah, that could have worked. Like maybe she couldn't have said it as brazen, but she
Right.
could have, you know what I mean, imparted this to her.
Margaret could have been the one to walk in the room and go, Lilibet,
Yeah, you need to get the fuck out there.
you got to got to London because this shit is going bad.
Yeah.
Lilibet.
Yeah. Little bit.
And the Queen and Philip are in bed, and she announces they are going to London tomorrow. And he asks, what?
And he's like, what? How dare you?
She just says, you heard me.
He's like,
That's going to be the nice thing about being the queen in a marriage. Be like, anything I say trumps you. Always.
You fucking heard me, dude.
You heard me.
You heard me.
Pipe down over there,
Nazi.
mean head.
Wasn't he a Nazi? No. Am I making that up? Yeah, I'm making that up. No, it was the other dude. It was the Duke of Windsor.
The Duke of Windsor, former King Edward, was absolutely a Nazi sympathizer. Yeah. Philip definitely had some racism issues.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But if he was a Nazi, I don't think it got a lot of press because I don't think Elizabeth would have let that happen.
So he's not like showing up in public in a Nazi uniform.
He's no Igor / Justin.
Okay, gotcha.
No. And so we see the queen in black on the flight writing what looks like a speech. She's got her little hat on and her little grief medal, and she's looking very prim and proper. And they pull into Buckingham Palace, and you could just see the shock on their faces by how much has been left at the gates. The people out there in that circle just crowding and crying at the gates. And you could tell they just have no idea that, like, they did not realize the magnitude of this. The queen records her address for the people with the crowds in the background. I will read the address in a minute.
To speak to the British people.
In my cute little hat.
I really make sure that every word I say is measured. Just so.
And perfectly enunciated in that lilt and way in which I spoke. God, we are going to get canceled so fucking fast for making fun of the Queen of England. Jesus Christ.
Please don't come for us.
Please don't come for us. And so we see William crying. Harry's getting the birthday gift.
Which that was true. That was true. She did buy that for him, and he got it after she died.
Yeah. Harry and they do a really good job here, I think, of interlacing the actors doing this and then live footage.
I agree.
I think that was a really good way of doing it. You know, Harry writes a note for his mother, but then we see the real footage of the note on the flower. I'm getting like chills actually describing this with just mummy written on it. And more footage of the crowns. Now we see the Herod's display that Moo did.
So did you notice he put the ring in the display? Okay.
So gross.
Because that was true. He really did that.
He really did that. I know. It's so gross.
Gross.
And we see Harry's note to Diana on the coffin, the boys, Charles, and her brother walking behind. And the crowds are yelling support for the boys. And Philip tells them not to acknowledge it. Just focus on walking. That's the wrong way to play this.
I know.
And William asks, why are they crying for someone they never knew? And Philip says they aren't crying for her. They are crying for you. Yes, they are crying for her and for you. It's not, Philip couldn't get the fact that they were crying because they felt the loss of Diana.
Right.
They felt incredible sympathy for William and Harry, of
Mhm.
course.
Well, I think William and Harry just made it, just amped up the tragedy.
Of course, little kids and walking me. Oh God, it's
Let's
awful.
never forget little John Jr.
I know.
Jr. with his little
Saluting us.
hi.
Oh God, little John John.
Jackie made him do that. She was like, salute the coffin.
Mm-hmm. Do what you got to do.
Mhm.
And we get back to the live footage of the procession, and we see Elizabeth on her knees praying before bed. And I said, she almost looks like she might cry alone in that bedroom.
Yeah,
Almost.
yeah.
So I want to read the speech that she did give.
Okay.
And I pulled this right off of the UK, Royal UK.
Mm.
It's their actual website.
It's not off of Reddit.
It's not off of Reddit. This is actually
Okay.
what the palace has put out as what her official statement is. The Queen spoke to the nation live at 6 p.m. on Friday, 5th of September, from the Chinese dining room at Buckingham Palace. Since last Sunday's dreadful news, we have seen throughout Britain and around the world an overwhelming expression of sadness at Diana's death. We have all been trying in our different ways to cope. It is not easy to express a sense of loss, since the initial shock is often succeeded by a mixture of other feelings: disbelief, incomprehension, anger, and concern for those who remain. We have all felt those emotions in the last few days. So, what I say to you now, as your queen and as a grandmother, I say from my heart. First, I want to pay tribute to Diana myself. This must have fucking killed her. She was an exceptional and gifted human being. In good times and bad, she never lost her capacity to smile and laugh, nor to inspire others with her warmth and kindness. I admired and respected her for her energy and her commitment to others, especially for her devotion to her two boys. This week at Balmoral, we have all been trying to help William and Harry come to terms with the devastating loss that they and the rest of us have suffered. I think that was a really smart move of saying, like, we were trying to take care of the
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
England, give us a break.
Mhm.
I mean, as you said, by taking care of the kid, we're just like, is he in the room? Cool.
Is he breathing?
Great.
Does he
Is he
need
breathing? Does he have
does he
enough
need
battery
food?
to
Someone
walk
else get
man
that.
as he rattles around Balmoral listening to Radiohead? Are we okay? There we go. And she continues, no one who knew Diana will ever forget her. Millions of others who never met her and felt they knew her will remember her. I, for one, believe there are lessons to be drawn from her life and from the extraordinary and moving reaction to her death. I share in your determination to cherish her memory. This is also the opportunity for me, on behalf of my family, and especially Prince Charles and William and Harry, to thank all of you who have brought flowers, sent messages, and paid your respects in so many ways to a remarkable person. These acts of kindness have been a huge source of help and comfort. Our thoughts are also with Diana's family and the families of those who died with her. Didn't even mention the name.
Nope.
Neither the driver nor Dodie.
Nope.
I know that they too have drawn strength from what has happened since last weekend as they seek to heal their sorrow and then to face the future without a loved one. I hope that tomorrow we can all, wherever we are, join in expressing our grief at Diana's loss and the gratitude for her all too short life. It is a chance to show the whole world the British nation united in grief and respect. May those who died rest in peace, and may we, each and every one of us, thank God for someone who made many people happy.
Didn't mention the Spencers either.
Nope.
Wow. Okay.
Well, let's say our thoughts are with Diana's family. They didn't say the name Spencer, but they did specifically say Diana's family and the families of the other people who died.
Yeah. Oh, and those other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if you're going to run that past me, I'm going to say she needs a better speechwriter, but it was fine. It met the moment. It was fine.
For her, that was really like deep and emotional, which is sad but true.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So for our piece of history, I wanted to talk a bit about Dodi Fayed's funeral itself, because it didn't really get any attention globally. I have to tell you, it was hard to find information even about it.
Wow.
You Google it and it comes back to pictures of Diana's funeral. It's so focused on, it was hard to even find something.
They were only together for 6 weeks. I think we forget that sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because it felt
they were in love
like
for the
eternity.
ages.
Oh, they were Love for the Ages. Right, right, right. Sorry, sorry.
Remember, A Love for the
Yes.
Ages.
Love for the Ages. Got
Absolutely.
it. Hmm.
So, I did get something from the BBC. I was also trying to find like a reputable source, not like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bob's funeral stuff.com or something.
On
So
Reddit.
on Reddit, this does actually come from the BBC, so I do have
Okay.
faith in this. So, Dodi Fayed, who was killed alongside Princess Diana in a car accident in Paris in the early hours of Sunday, has been buried in Britain. Dodi Fayed's body was flown back to London on Sunday evening, accompanied by his father, Harrods owner, Mohammed El Fayed. The body was taken first to the Regent's Park Mosque in central London, and from there to a Muslim cemetery in Woking, I'm going to say, Woking. I'm guessing
Hmm.
that's a section of London. A police spokesman in Woking said that the El Fayed family had insisted on a private ceremony and that those wishes were being respected.
Hmm.
So here's a bit more about Dodi himself. Educated in Switzerland and at the Sandhurst Military Academy. Put a pin in that for a second.
Okay.
Dodi Fayed held both Egyptian and United Arab Emirates citizenship. He spent most of his working life in the family business, but also became known as a successful film producer in Hollywood, where his production company was involved in the Oscar-winning film Chariots of Fire.
Hmm.
Other films that he did, Breaking Glass, FX, Hook, and The Scarlet Letter. Just wanted to go back to that. But Dodi Fayed became best known as a wealthy international playboy with a series of glamorous female escorts. He was briefly married to an American model whom he later divorced. They were married for 8 months. Dodi Fayed's appearances in the gossip column began in the 80s when he was in his 30s, usually involving his appearance at nightclubs around the world.
Yeah.
The most recent controversy involving Dodi Fayed revolved around California model Kelly Fisher. We've talked a lot about that.
Hmm.
Ms. Fisher had instigated legal proceedings against Dodi Fayed, claiming that he had promised to marry her and then left her after he began a romance with Diana.
And he made her quit her job.
She demanded $500,000 for breach of contract. Dodi Fayed first met Diana 10 years ago at a polo match. Mohammed El Fayed was a close friend of Diana's father, the late Earl Spencer. So that was the best information I could find.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
really sad.
Okay.
Now, I told you to put a pin into Sandhurst Military Academy. As I
Yes.
read that, I was like, that sounds familiar. Why does that sound familiar, you ask? Other famous alumni of Sandhurst Military Academy include King Hussein of Jordan, who I've always enjoyed a bit.
Wow. Okay.
But more importantly, Prince William and Prince Harry.
Oh, okay.
Same school. I was like, why do I know the name of
Okay.
that school? That's
Okay.
why, because that's where William and Harry went as well.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So there we have it. We got through the death of Diana.
Well, this was a good episode.
This was a good episode.
It was sad. It was, I don't know. I mean, it was lovely to see the outpouring for her, but also devastating to see the boys and to know that they were not allowed to act or grieve a certain way in public is really upsetting.
It is really upsetting because I don't think the people would have turned on them at all. I think the people, if anything, would have appreciated it more.
I know. And I just think of Elizabeth, like she is so the crown, the crown, the crown, the crown, the crown. Like that would have, in her eyes, that would have been a slippery slope to go down. But like this is part of the problem with the Royals, right? They never evolve.
No.
So like what worked in 1910 does not work in 1997.
No. But we're still playing by the same book all the time.
I have to tell you something. This is just related because I brought up 1997. I saw a meme with a professor who wrote, "I may never mentally recover from this email." And in the email, the student asked the professor, did you see it? Could they use a source from the late 1900s?
Todd read that to me and we're both like, oh, fuck you, kid. We're not okay.
Wow.
From the late 1900s.
I will have you know my kids have said that to me. They have said to me, you grew up in the 1900s. I'm like, yes, I did.
Yes, I did. But you know, I think about it like the late 1800s. I mean, think about it. Like our grandparents felt this way about the late 1800s.
Yes. Yes.
It's weird. It's weird.
Wild.
Yeah.
Like even when you were saying, you were saying just something about the 80s. Dodie was running around in nightclubs and stuff in the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, God, he must have been old. But then I'm like, no. Right
Yeah.
now, 1980 was 40 years ago.
Right.
But
Then for him, it was 10 years ago.
yes. But
Yeah.
it feels like sometimes I feel like 1980 is yesterday.
I know.
Sometimes I feel like it was 150 years ago.
I'm still in the brain space of 10 years ago was the 90s.
I know, me too. Forever.
Forever.
All right, my friend. We have to get moving. We have something else to record. We're going to get to that right away. Guys, if you haven't already, check out the 2 documentaries that Amanda and I have done. We've done Escaping Twin Flames, and we've done Love Has Won, The Cult of Mother God. Which,
if you have to pick one over the other, if you only have time for one, go to Love Has Won, because
it depends on what you want. If you want to rage out, then you need Escaping Twin Flames.
Yeah.
If you want
your gob to be smacked.
If you want your gob to be smacked, watch Love Has Won. Very good, thank you.
Yes. If you want your gob to be smacked all over the place.
As always, I'm going to send a special message out to those members on the free Patreon tier.
Oh, yes.
Because those numbers are climbing. Patreon has redesigned their page so that when you go on there, it says join for free. Well, you get nothing if you join for free. So
you get what you pay for here.
While we support your efforts in wanting to follow the show, we also don't want you to get angry and rage quit because you're not getting anything.
Right.
So just, move up to that $8 tier and you're going to get commercial free stuff, Sister Wives stuff, all that stuff. So, thank you, Amanda, and tell everyone where they can find you. We haven't done that in a while.
Oh gosh, yes, forever. You can find me on the Instagrams. I know Amy always puts it in the show notes. See pictures of my cats and all that. And you can find me. I'm having a long-term temporary position as the driver of the Fundy bus on a blighty day, talking about Plathville and Sister Wives.
Love it. All right, guys, and follow us on Instagram. We're up to 400 followers. I'm pretty excited about that. Yes.
We're up to almost 700 people in the Facebook group.
I know. The Facebook group's getting amazing.
I know. It's awesome. Yeah. I love it. I love it so much.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Take care, everyone.